is an American actor best known for playing Walter Flynn, Walt Jr. on the AMC series Breaking Bad. Like his character on the show, RJ has cerebral palsy. At his time of birth, he was delivered by emergency cesarean. He was not breathing and developed permanent brain damage, and at the age of 3, he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. With the use of casts, leg braces, and crutches, RJ became stronger and no longer needed any walking devices by his teenage years. He is now a celebrity ambassador for United Cerebral Palsy and continues to act and educate others on the cerebral palsy experience.
What type of cerebral palsy do you have, and how does it affect you on a daily basis?
My cerebral palsy is spastic. My muscles tighten. It affects my left side, fine gross motor skills, hand-eye coordination, speech, dexterity, many different things. I mean, like you were talking earlier, a delay. I have a little bit of a delay, but I'm very good at overcompensating for that. But when I was a kid, they said, "Oh, you're a toe walker." So because my feet bent down, it was very difficult to be flat-footed. So for 10 years of my life, or 13 years of my life, I was in AFOs and SMAFOs and casting. Did a lot of casting for 6 months out of the year, and then the rest of it would be in my braces and just really focused on that, and really a lot of exercise and sports helped me kind of strengthen my legs and allowed me to kind of create ways to process and move quickly.
Right. No, absolutely. And so when were you diagnosed with CP? Was it at birth?
I was diagnosed at 3 years old.
Okay.
So I'm actually adopted. I'm a closed adoption.
Okay.
I don't have any information about my birth parents, but I'm fine with that. That just sounds like trouble to me. I got it at childbirth from lack of oxygen to the brain during.
Okay. So it happened during birth. So
it happened during birth, but they couldn't diagnose me. They couldn't diagnose me until I was 3 because I would pass the test. My mom took me to many doctors, saying, "I think he has something. Can you check him out?" And they said, "Well, we do think he has something, but we don't know what." Mm-hmm. And after the first 3 years of my life, after numerous tests and traveling to different doctors, they kept giving the same result. We know he has something, but we don't know what. And when I was around 3, my grandmother every year would go to the same Cadillac dealership and trade in her Caddy for the next model. And one year, the gentleman happened to notice me and was like, "Oh, does your grandson have CP?" And like my grandmother had been told by all the doctors, she said, "Well, we know he has something, but we don't know what." And he said, "No, I'm fairly certain that your grandson has cerebral palsy, and you should really have you been to Shriners Hospitals for Children?" And we hadn't at that time, and we scheduled an appointment to this meeting.
Yeah.
And I went in and got diagnosed, and they immediately fit me for my braces and put me in cast and said, "Come back in a week, they'll be ready."
Mm-hmm.
And that started the journey.
Right. Okay.
I know what happened in the sense of, so it happened at birth. My biological mother didn't have insurance, but my adopted mother did. Huh?
Didn't have insurance, you had mentioned?
Yeah, my biological mother didn't have insurance.
Okay.
And so when you're I mean, American hospitals, if you don't have insurance, you get to wait a little longer.
Right.
But they were losing us She went into cardiac arrest and we were dying, and they realized that she did have insurance through the adoptive mother, through my mom, that she had insurance, and they're like, oh shit, we have to save them. so that's kind of what that happened there.
Right. No, that makes sense. Well, fortunately, and it sounds like your adopted family is wonderful, and fortunately.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I have a great family, and
that's wonderful.
And I'm very lucky to live in the life I live.
Right. How does your CP, and that's obviously what I'm going to call it, obviously that's the shorthand, affects you like on a daily basis, whether it's physical, I know you said you have some weakness, whether it has to do with your speech, how so, can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think growing up, yes, there's physical limitations to a degree, but at the same time, I was always very active and played in the yard, and I grew up fishing and hunting and out with my pawpaw. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. My grandparents were very big parts of my life, and even one of my grandfathers, they all had different things, everything from polio to paralyzation from stroke, cancer, and all these things. So I grew up in a very medically surrounded world where people had illnesses and disabilities in my life, and for me it was really more or less how could I do and play with my friends and be that. And really I was very lucky to have a family with no limitations. They didn't say, yes, they wanted me to be careful, but they weren't overly cautious of what I was doing. If I wanted to go ride bikes, or try to at least, they said, okay, here's your bike, go, let's see what you can do.
Right.
And
my parents,
it really pushed me. Huh?
I said my parents were like that too.
I mean, it's important. I think if you have a kid with a disability, or you have something like that, I mean, I think it's so important to find that push and find that drive and take those risks.
Right.
A lot of people think if you have a disability, you're fragile, and that's not always the case. Right. I find having CP makes me a lot stronger, actually, and more durable. Can't take too many hits to the head, but this body can take some damage.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, and I'm just, we're all curious, but so can you not use your right or your left arm as much as your right arm?
Correct. So my spasticity on my left side kind of paralyzes my middle finger down. I really don't. I try to use my arm as much as possible, but really it's just not. It's not what I naturally use. I use my right arm the most, and it affects. What's funny is as I get older, when I was younger, it was my left leg that had the weakness. Now it's kind of my right leg. That goes. Now it's pretty funny to see what switched with compensation or overcompensation. But yeah, my left side, my left arm, and when I get tired, my speech will draw more. But for the most part, I'm very conscientious of what I do and how I move. I do my best to really kind of control my body. And the way that I look at it is that this is just like a physical shell, but my brain is who I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, a disability or a difference shouldn't define a person. And it seems, you completely understand that, and obviously, it's something that I preach to the choir. A lot of people that don't have a disability really think that, a disability, their disability defines them, and they, looks down upon. I mean, they look, down upon that person for their inabilities rather than their abilities, because a lot of people like yourself, like, can do amazing things regardless if they have CP, or any other type of condition.
Well, I think there is this niche, I think, when it comes to disability. And I think for a long time we look at disability as a liability, and we don't say that.
Right.
And I think there's that stigma of what it means to have something that alters your body or the perception that you are weaker. And for me, I think that having a disability makes you strong. Having a disability makes you stronger than the average individual, not because of whatever the general consensus is of that, but just the challenge, the personal challenge of that individual that has to go through that to overcome and to understand themselves. That a lot of people don't get that opportunity, and for me, I think that's something that's like a blessing and something that is unique in a such a valuable mindset to have to see these challenges and to experience them and to be able to evolve from them. That will alter your perception, that will alter your life, and then retrovertently alter everyone around you in a positive way. And now there are negative people in this world, but if we look at it from a positive standpoint, these are assets. These aren't illnesses.
Right. Absolutely. And absolutely. So getting into your acting career, did you always know that you wanted to be an actor? And, how did you get into your first acting role?
So I started acting because of my little sister, Lacey. She was kind of discovered at a water park in Houston, and this agent was like, we would love to use her for a Lucille Ball campaign. And we're like, oh, okay, what's this about? And sent us all the information. My sister, she has bright red hair. And we went to LA for her to do this campaign for 3 months. And, if you move to LA for a little bit and you don't go to school, you don't join a gang, and you don't act, I mean, there's really nothing for you to do out there. So I started acting to meet kids my own age. And my very first audition was an anti-meth campaign, but I didn't get that one.
Right.
I started working, though, as an extra on Hannah Montana and Everybody Hates Chris and Weeds and Seventh Heaven, and all as a background character, and even had some featured background parts on those shows. And soon after working on about 14 different shows and movies as an extra, I auditioned for Breaking Bad. I was 12, turning 13 when I auditioned for the show. And I was 20, turning 21 when I finished it.
Amazing. And now, so getting into your Breaking Bad show, which is amazing, you play Walter White Jr., who was scripted to have cerebral palsy. Can you tell us a little bit more about the character and, I guess, the process to be chosen for this role?
Yeah. Really, when I got the breakdown for Walter White Jr., the description was dark hair, big eyebrows, and mild cerebral palsy, and I'm like, I got all of those things. And I went in, and Sharon Bialy at the time, there was a lady in there she was the casting agent, but there was a lady in there that had broken her leg skiing, and she had the crutches, so I used her crutches in the scene, and it just kind of kept evolving, and went on 5 auditions, 4 in Los Angeles and once in New Mexico, and booked the show. Right after my last audition, they called me and said, you have the part. Go to LA, pack your bags for the next 6 months. We're shooting the series, and get yourself back here.
Right. No, absolutely. And it's amazing. And you play an amazing role as Walter White. And
well, you know what's unique about this role, and I think this is something for screenwriters and people that want to create real characters is my character was based on a real person. Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad, knew in person. He went to college with this man, and sometime after he passed away. But this character, Walter White Jr., was really kind of embodied by this real person, and I think that's what made Walt Jr. so special. Is it wasn't just some character that was thrown together, but these are all real breathing individuals that were put into a story and evolved. And what we showed on that wasn't a disability; it just was a circumstance. Right. This character just happened to have this, and it was a lifestyle.
Right.
That's really, to me, what disability is. It's not some abnormal, far out thing in our life. It's very common to me, and something that people don't realize is how common these things are, and just these basic aspects of who we are as individuals in our lives.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. So the character, Walter, does not have the same type of speech, impediments that you endured as a child. You talk. It's public that speech therapy was a big component of you growing up. So did you have to change and train your voice in order to basically try to mimic what the Walter Reed character was, and if so, how did you do that?
Really, I didn't really try and mimic anything. I just I looked at, when I first read it, I looked at the words where my mind would get stuck on, and I would just let my mind get stuck on them. It's one of those things when you're reading something or you're trying to say something and you do the I, or like those. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's like your brain and your mouth aren't wanting to work together, so it's kind of this repetitive motion. And for me, that's what I really was like. All right, so what would I, if I was in control of what I say? Because everything I say, I already have it thought process out. Like everything I'm telling you now, I already thought of in the last like 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to Walt Jr., I was like, all right, how could I process less and say more?
Right.
And I just stuttered take over when it came to character. And as far as crutches, Roy, I broke legs before, and you've used crutches and been in cast and the whole 9 yards, and so really all I did when it came to using the crutches for the character was use the crutches for the character.
Right. I think that's the way to go. And again, your acting as that role is amazing. So
thank you. Well, I find
an amazing job.
Yeah. But I find as an actor, one of the biggest things when you're going into a role is not to focus, unless it's completely over the top role, but not focus on creating the character, but let the character create its own situation and its own environment.
Right.
I'm a big fan of living in the space exercise. I don't know if you know what that is.
No.
But it's where you kind of create this imaginary space, and people tell you kind of what you're doing, and then you act it out. And it's kind of all about reacting to what is being created around you. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think that's something that, as an actor, we have to manifest and create these fake worlds. And I think when it comes to building strong characters, is finding that living in the moment, and then taking their situation of that moment and how would they react versus how you would react.
Right. No, absolutely. And so getting, into, I guess, the role of characters with differences, and somebody playing, basically a character in which they don't have a difference, such as like your Breaking Bad co-star Bryan Cranston, who took the role of a quadriplegic billionaire in the movie Upside. What are your thoughts on, like I said, somebody who doesn't have a difference playing a role of someone who has a difference?
My view on this is if people with disabilities don't want to get casted for, like there's people with disabilities don't want to just always get cast for the disabled role. And a lot of able-bodied actors do get cast for disabled roles, but I think we can't just criticize and critique people for taking those roles because everyone's just trying to work. It's not, and that's not up to the individual that gets the role. I mean, yes, are they a great actor and they get it? Sometimes. But I think we need to be open-minded when it comes to accepting and pushing roles for everyone. And if we want to move forward in a world where we can take and you can just have this character with no real, no, what's the word I'm looking for? Taking a character that's not specifically described disabled and hiring someone that may have a disability. That's what I want to see.
Right.
And I believe the steps to get there are to be more willing and more open when it comes to just bad choices. Once you start critiquing and hating on people, people don't want to work with you. And I find if we show positivity in nature and say, hey, you really should look at other people for this role, to do that, and we can get our voice heard more people will be inclined to hire that. And I think it just all comes to to the awareness of that individual. You know, what happened in The Upside, I mean, that was the #1 movie in America. I mean, yeah, there wasn't, like, when it came to representation, it was subpar, but at the same time, it brought representation. It brought the question, it brought the conversation out. I find when you have these types of movies, it's an opportunity to expand the conversation. And instead of, for me, I'd rather expand it positively than negatively.
Right.
And I think, there's a saying, you catch more flies with honey, you ever heard that one?
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of the name of the game for that. I think that we need more accurate representation, but I think that's everyone. That's not just people with disabilities. That's not just people of color. That's everyone needs accurate representation, and I feel that we are working towards that. But it's people can be quite sensitive over it.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely think that, it's something that's going to take, a lot of time. And it's, with the ADA and just things over the last, for instance, 28, 31 years, and talking about your age and then like my age.
Well, I can tell you from when I started, it was a completely different network.
Of course.
Like I see so much more representation. I see so much more opportunity. It's really astonishing to see the ability that people are given now versus just the blown off nature of what has happened in the past. And over the last 20 years, we've definitely come to the forefront of having representation. Now, is it always accurate? Is it always what we need? No, but at the same time, it's happening and the conversation is real.
Absolutely. So one thing that you're very involved with is clearly advocating. And you're a celebrity ambassador for United Cerebral Palsy. What does advocating and being a spokesperson mean to you?
It means a lot to me. It means a lot to really, it means a lot to the communities I affect and that I work with. And for me, that seeing impact is something that I love to see and to see the growth. So being able to work with the organizations that I do, being able to see them evolve and being able to see them affect so many people's lives is really what I love to see. And any way I can always support organizations that change people's perceptions and change people's lives and change people for the better. I'm always down to support and make a difference.
That's amazing. That's probably what I'm doing too, and I wish more people with differences did that. So, Dazed and Confused magazine has called you an overnight fashion sensation. You've walked the runway of the then Westwood menswear shows, become a global model for Gap. You've been featured in a sexy shoot for Dark Beauty magazine and many other modeling opportunities. So in your modeling experience, have you ever encountered the stigma in the industry because you have a difference?
Yes and no. I think really the stigma I got was my hair. My hair was too short and I was a little fat. But luckily for me with Breaking Bad, it really broke down barriers of stigmas that happened in my life, and the perception that people saw me. So really, when it came to the modeling industry, they really welcomed me with open arms, and really was a unique experience. And I did that for about 4 years. But it's modeling is a different breed and a very hard industry, not just because of disabilities, but it's a very demanding industry when it comes to beauty and looks and the stigmas that are there, because it is very taxing, not just physically but mentally as well on people. And for a long time, modeling used to be very cutthroat and very like circling body parts on you, saying you need to work on this. And I think people don't always realize how this industry, and this isn't just the modeling industry, this is the entertainment industry, is very picky and will in what they want and what they want to see.
Right.
Because if you're not what they want to see, they won't put you out there.
Absolutely. They're trying to, portray.
They're trying to meet a target. They're trying to meet a target audience, and they're trying to create this world that doesn't exist really, but in that realm it does exist, and that's something that I don't think everyone realizes about social media,
right,
about television, about the networks. Is it's an artificial world, and they want this artificial world to reflect reality, and that's kind of the opposite of what media, network, modeling, acting, the industry, the music industry even is. It's not the people want it to reflect society, but really they don't want it to.
Right. Absolutely. There's kind of a catch-22, and I think that's why the, ADA and just, raising awareness on people who have, disabilities or challenges has been so delayed. Because, we live in an able-bodied community, and, I don't know exactly the statistics, but, you encounter people that are more able-bodied on a daily basis than, that have some type of disability, so they, want to, they want to target in a way that's also going to, I feel, be impactful to, rest of society versus maybe something that, we would rather them target in terms of our awareness and so forth. So is there and moving forward in your life, if you do any other type of modeling, is there any specific designer that you'd like to model for?
Yeah. I actually one of the favorite things I went to. I love I'll always, if Vivian Westwood calls me, I'll always jump on that one. That's a great group. I love the Vivian Westwood team. So they're always fun. I like Fendi. I like Louis Vuitton. So if any of those want to throw me a modeling gig, I got to hang out. I've been to a couple of Fendi and shoot runways, and they're always such a fun, unique experience. And I have a lot of friends in fashion, and I think I don't know if you know Christian Calloway.
I think I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. I like his stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff out there now.
No, absolutely, and there's so many different brands, and there's more accessibility with clothing. I mean, Runway of Dreams.
Well, I don't know if you ever looked at Zappo Adaptive. Yes, Mindy. I love them. I've done work with them in the past, and I think it's a great like transition when it comes to fashion is to have Zappos do that adaptive line, and I think it's really cool to see it.
Absolutely, I agree. So is there any character or role that you would love to play in any television show or film if you were casted for it?
I don't know right now. I haven't really been watching a lot of live action TV lately. But I love action and thriller and suspense, so I'm always down to be on that drama side,
Right, of course. And that's, I think, you kind of already portrayed and done a lot, drama stuff too, a little bit. So I think that makes sense. And so can you tell us, and I'm not sure because we're in crazy COVID, I know Ned was telling me that you've been doing some Zoom interviews and so forth. So obviously that's not your acting, but are there any projects that you're working on for the future that you can, I guess, spill a little bit or tell us about?
Yeah, I have one project right now that's in development called Isaac. I'm very excited about that. We have 1 week of filming left.
Okay. That's
it's with Dove Cameron and a lot of other amazing actors and actresses, and I hopefully will be going back next month for that.
That's amazing.
I have another movie called Carol of the Bells.
Okay.
Me and I don't know if you ever heard of Joey Travolta.
Jerry Travolta or John Travolta?
Joey Travolta.
I've not heard of him.
So Joey Travolta is John Travolta's older brother.
Okay.
But he has a school, and has a company called Inclusion Media, and we create movies, and with 70%, we created our first movie with a 75% disabled cast and crew.
Oh, wow.
Full feature. We shot in 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
It went very well, called Carol of the Bells. We're hoping to pull more funding and more groups to make more of these projects and really focus on creating projects with people with disability in front and behind the camera, so we can show how valuable and non-detrimental they are to a set.
Right.
Because again, when you're in the working industry and you have a disability, people look at that as a liability.
Right.
And for me, I want to be able to show people that just because you have a disability, it doesn't make you a liability. It actually enhances what you can do and provides knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, that's something that I want to highlight. I have another movie called Standing Up for Sonny, which is out on Netflix right now. I have about another 3 projects in development, and I'm working on developing a direct streaming platform.
Wow.
For music and venues.
Wow. You're doing amazing things.
That's just Tuesday.
Yeah. No, it's, I think what you're doing is great, and I think you portray such an important, obviously, actor, obviously having, some type of difference, but I think and as we've obviously discussed a lot through this interview, is, you're making a difference, with, by showing, people that, you do have a disability, but that doesn't preclude you from being,
Well, I'm one of many, and this includes you as well, that are making an impact and trying to work and grow. And really, I mean, at the end of the day, I think all we're really trying to do is just be able to be like, yo, hire me. I'm worth it.
Yeah. Hey, can I be an actress, with you?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I totally will. So this is just a last fun question that I wanted to ask you, but if you were not famous, what type of person do you think you would be right
now? I don't know. I'd probably be the same to a degree. Without the notoriety. I always grew up working. I'd probably be doing a lot more physical labor. But I don't think who I am to what the industry has perceived me would be too different.
Right. No, for sure. And I think whatever you would be, and this is just like a fun fantasy question because obviously you're a celebrity.
Yeah.
Who you are, but I think in any which way, I think, society and what you would do regardless, would be, would make such an impact on this world. Whether
we try.
Labor or, I'm just saying, physical labor or school teaching.
Yeah, well, I grew up in a philanthropic life with my grandparents and my grandfather, and they were all in the military and medical field, and so they really instilled in me the importance of helping and being there for others, and that's something that I try to carry with me every day. Is to just be able to if I see a need, to see if I can fill it, and if I can't, to guide that into a way where that need is met to that individual.
Right, of course. Absolutely. Well, this has been wonderful, RJ. I could talk with you forever.